So today I'm going to talk to you about how I use the iPad in my grade 5-6 split class to work through the camera application, Explain Everything, which were already existing on the iPads. And the two that we downloaded prior to this lesson was the Sticky app and Pixel-O-Matic. The very first thing that I did with my students was I went over the objectives of the lesson. So the first objective was to introduce the students to camera frames and effects. The second was to familiarize the students with the use of apps. Explain Everything and Pixel-O-Matic were the main ones that we used, but we also used the Sticky and Camera app as well. And the third objective was to focus on the use of media while integrating written and spoken text. Our very first step was to learn about camera frames and effects. Because ultimately they had to choose their best picture in the end. So what I decided to do was show them a few YouTube videos because they were child friendly.
Hi, I'm Peggy Farron with Understand Photography. Today we're going to talk about good photography shots for kids. Reflections are fun. They can be water, wet streets, shiny objects, mirrors. Find a reflective.
The next thing was we had a discussion based on camera frames and effects. And what I did was I used the Sticky application in order to familiarize them with it prior to using it, to just list the frames in white that were their options that we learned about, and list the effects in green. And then their instructions were written in the blue note on the bottom. So they had to select a frame and effect, one from each box. And record them not in their notes because we decided to use the Sticky application, so record them in notes on a note by itself. And then they were to discuss amongst themselves, one by one, what they were going to photograph. So it could have been a person or a particular item. So once they went ahead and selected their frame and effect, so this is an example, full body and pattern. Following that, I asked them to take their pictures. So what they did was they went to the camera application on their iPad that already exists. And let's pretend they took a photo of a classroom. So I had them take at least 5 photos, so they had a few to pick from. And then their job was to sort through the photos that they selected and pick their best and their worst. So following this, what I asked them to do was take their best picture and go into the application Pixel-O-Matic, which was the second app that we downloaded prior to this lesson. And in Pixel-O-Matic, what you're able to do is take a picture that you edit, basically. So let's pretend that I started with this as my original picture. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add a filter to it. So use this one, and then I'm going to change the lighting. There's several options. I'll use this one. And then I'm going to add a frame to it. We'll use flowery. And then once they're done manipulating that picture and editing it, they can save it to their camera reel. So I asked them to do it in a medium size. And they saved it to their images, and now it's saved. So the very last thing that I asked them to do was create an Explain Everything video, and that application, as I mentioned at the beginning, is already on the iPad. And the neat thing about Explain Everything is it allows you to do a lot of things in one application or one tool. So you can draw on things. You can obviously move things around. You can delete things. And what I'll do is I'll show you an example of one of my students' Explain Everything videos. And what I had her do was just save it to her photos. And then I had her email the presentation to me after it was compressed. So it's in my photos. And I'll play that for you right straight through. And this was the culminating task of the lesson itself. So.
I decided to take a picture of a tree because I like nature. I took my picture full body from a down-low perspective. This is my best picture. It shows a full body shot from a down-low perspective. This is my worst picture. It is at a medium perspective and it is at a side view. This is my edited picture. I used Pixelromatic. What I did: changed the lighting, added a border, used a filter. What I learned: how to use 2 new apps, take lots of pictures to get a good one, how to edit pictures, using camera frames and effects.
So that's the final Explain Everything video that Maddie created. And it was our culminating task, as I said. And in this lesson, we used the Sticky app, Camera app, Pixelromatic app, as well as Explain Everything.